Hey everybody, everyone's favorite American capitalist here with a brand spanking new video. Today I have something kind of different than past response videos I've made. This one was actually somewhat fair to anarchism. I know, crazy, right? But it got a lot wrong, and so today I will be critiquing the Infographics show's video on what would happen if the US government suddenly disappeared. Hit it!
We bop and hippity hop, I'm as happy as I can be. Whoa, boom, boom, and hippity zoom. Love is sweet, love is grand, works one. We bop and hippity hop, I'll never be a millionaire.
Government is the body that runs the country. One or more political parties make up the government, and a huge team of civil servants supports them. Politicians often attend debates and meetings in government buildings where they decide on what policies will or will not work and how the national budget should be spent. A good government protects and provides for the people.
Well, considering all governments are supported by theft, there is no such thing as a good government.
It keeps the country moving forward. Today, we'll look into just how important the government is. In this episode of the Infographics Show, what if the government suddenly disappeared?
Oh shit, you're serious.
So what would happen in the US? The first few days. Let's just assume that in this case study, you simply woke up one day and the government had disappeared overnight, vanished into thin air, leaving us all to fend for ourselves. One of the first things most of us do after waking up is brush our teeth. But when you go to turn on the tap, knowing there is no public services authority, you'd be wondering, is the water supply safe to drink?
No, because I get my water from a private company and they don't have an incentive to poison their water supply?
Who's decontaminating it from dangerous bacteria? Feeling a little gritty with your unbrushed teeth, you might head back to the bedroom to get dressed for work. But if you use public transport for the commute, you'll soon realize you can't get there.
Well, in that case, I'll just call an Uber, or hell, I could probably just buy a car now that I don't have the crime syndicate that is government stealing from me on a daily basis.
We're only 20 minutes into the day, and it's already looking bleak. You decide to check up on the latest news to see how much impact the lack of government is having on the country. There would be chaos in the financial markets. The US federal debt exceeded $21 trillion in March 2018, and it is the largest single investment instrument in the market. If the federal government disappeared, there would be no guarantee of the debt being honored.
Yep, that's what you get for trusting a fiat currency. And let's be honest, the debt will never be honored. Our debt has reached 105% of our GDP. Most economies collapse once their national debt reaches 100% of their GDP. The only reason why ours hasn't is because the countries that own part of our debt are too reliant on us as a military power to call us on our bullshit. It's only a matter of time before inflation causes this shit to happen anyway though, so honestly I don't see the problem here.
The value of the US dollar would also become completely questionable. Each note is backed by what's known as the full faith and credit of the US government. But with no US government, what would it be worth? The federal government is also responsible for a whole host of corporate functions such as taxes, regulations, and trade operations.
All of which stifle economic growth, keep competitors out of the market, and create the socialism of the rich known as corporatism.
There's no backup plan to keep any of this going if the whole government disappeared overnight. One thing that may shoot up in value would be gold and silver, as precious metals would always be worth something in trade, so quick-thinking investors would jump on that. It's a pretty dreary first morning as you sit watching the financial chaos, wishing you could brush your teeth.
Unless, of course, you were smart enough to invest in Bitcoin.
Assuming most businesses carried on as normal, with the lack of federal government, there would be no reason to deduct taxes from wages, so workers would receive bigger paychecks. That's good news, right? Maybe not, as systems such as the federal Social Security program would also stall, and retired people would struggle to find the cash for day-to-day living.
Yeah, not my problem. Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme ever invented. No matter how you try to spin it, there's nothing good about being forced to pay into a retirement fund you'll never see a fucking cent of. Not to mention the fact that if those who are retired today had invested the same amount of money into a private retirement fund, they would have had a lot more money.
And Medicare would disappear, causing havoc in the health sector. There would quickly need to be state-level authority before further community functions fell apart.
Or private businesses can provide those services like they've done for most of human history, and at least with the case of healthcare, provided at an even cheaper cost without government regulations and taxes.
Who would pay USDA inspectors, FAA flight controllers, and other key personnel? And how would federal prisons continue to run? Or would they simply open their doors and set everyone free? It's not easy to answer these questions, as it would come down to many factors.
Actually, it's incredibly easy to answer them. First of all, private organizations for quality assurance and safety can be provided by the free market. Businesses want their products to be trusted and would certainly pay a third party to test the safety of their product. And as for air traffic control, this could once again be easily provided by the free market. Airlines have an incentive to ensure their customers have a safe flight, and would be more than willing to communicate with other airlines to do this. Now, as for prisons, it's hard to say. Considering 80% of people in federal prison are there for victimless crimes, it's safe to say a majority of them would be free to go. But those that actually committed a crime against another human being would have to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. Let me know if any of you would like me to give the subject of prisons during the transition to anarchy its own video in the comments below.
A few months in, more issues would crop up as time passes. Assuming that a local authority did not take responsibility for the federal food inspection system, there would eventually be contaminated food on supermarket shelves and in restaurants, potentially leading to mass disease.
Yes, because the number one goal of every restaurant and grocery store is to give their customers food poisoning. If a business stopped caring about the safety of their food and made people sick, they would lose a lot of their customers and probably even go out of business. So why on earth would they not check the safety of their food?
There would certainly have been a major economic collapse, and with thousands more people out of work and all major government activities ceased, it's highly likely this would lead to civil unrest as people start to lose patience.
Oh yeah, an economy unburdened by taxation or trade regulations would totally lead to an economic collapse. The only economic turmoil that would occur would be during the transition period from fiat currency to crypto. But after this transition period, there would be a huge economic boom. The market would flood with competition and jobs would be plentiful.
It's hard to say what would happen with interstate commerce. Would companies be hampered by the absence of a federal court system and a means of resolving state boundary legalities? You would hope that corporate responsibility and the importance of reputation would see most disputes resolved.
It would actually. Especially with the help of private courts. However, there wouldn't really be any debate over interstate commerce because there wouldn't be any states. It would all just be commerce.
The tax system would be well and truly broken by this stage, with the non-existence of income taxes, capital gains taxes, and excise taxes. One year on. A year in, and America would likely be considered a third world country, with society looking more like it did in the 18th century, with a great deal more responsibility back in the hands of citizens.
Yeah, except that goes against everything we know about economics. By every measurable standard, the freer an economy is, the better off it is. Everything from poverty rates to unemployment is better under a free economy.
There might be town council meetings to decide whether to allow business projects to go forward.
Oh, that's a good one.
And what was left of the corporate sector would probably play a major role in societal governance. Instead of a Food and Drug Administration, perhaps business or community would demand an independent organization to develop standards, conduct tests, and certify which drugs were safe and effective. By now, the prisons would likely all be privately run, and you would hope that other functions previously managed by the government would fall into the hands of people or small businesses.
Yeah, that's, actually not entirely wrong. Huh. Weird.
Somalia went with no functioning national government for 2 decades, until 2012, when an internationally backed government was installed. There was much chaos and fighting during that time, but people still got by, and the country sets a good example of how people respond to collective problems without government.
He's actually telling the truth. While Somalia could scarcely be called anarchist because it was being controlled by like 6 different warring factions, it actually saw some stability at one point.
In many parts of the country, communities organized themselves to solve collective problems and provide public goods, and residents managed to maintain daily routines much like those in more developed countries. Private sector firms offered basic utilities and services such as garbage removal and clean water sources, and small local council units took responsibility for jobs normally left to the state.
Wow, he's actually resisting the "why don't you just move to Somalia" line. And he's being honest.
Moving the government certainly sounds like a bad idea, but does society see it that way? We looked at debate.org, an online community debating website, where we found a debate titled, "Is Life Without Government Possible?" That vote came in with 58% of people saying it would be possible. One subscriber argued it would be utopia. Worldwide anarchy is something to strive for. It would not be utter chaos.
Well, utopias don't exist, and they never will, but I appreciate the sentiment. And the fact that a majority of people believe life without government is possible gives me hope. Wow. a status was actually somewhat fair to our position. I mean, sure, he got a lot wrong in this video, I've certainly proved that, but he's made an attempt at civility, and I can honestly respect that. To any status watching this video, I'd just like to say that as much as I make fun of you, I understand where you're coming from. Anarcho-capitalism is often difficult to understand and can at times seem a bit frightening if you still believe the state is necessary, so if you have questions, ask them. Or better yet, join us on a live stream and have a discussion. Civility will always be welcomed on my channel. Anyway, enough of the mushy stuff. I think that about does it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment below. And until next time, this has been AmeriCap, your friendly neighborhood American capitalist. Good night, everybody. Hey guys, it's me again, and thanks for staying to the end of the video. I'd like to give a special thanks to my one and only patron at the moment, Kalela, for supporting my content and helping me to make better videos. If you enjoy my content and would like to become a patron yourself, then visit my Patreon page. If you like this channel but don't like YouTube, then be sure to visit my BitChute as well. Both will be linked in the description below. And if you just can't get enough of me, then click the invite link below and join my Discord server. See you there!
Boom, boom,